It's not difficult, Gemara, but it's financially, it's all very, logical. It does flows quick. Okay, we're going to start with the Mishnah. Mishnah on Tzadi Zayin Beis, 97b. Mochro Ksuboso. Now, we said earlier that once a woman collects the ksuba, she's not deserving. She doesn't get support any longer. Collecting ksuba means, because it says in the ksuba that when you collect your ksuba, I mean, as long as you sit as my widow, you're deserving of all support. Cover your food expense, your clothing expense, your residence expense. The moment she collects the ksuba, that means she's ready to go out. She's looking to get married, then everything stops. So the Mishnah said, what about if she collects partial payment of the ksuba? But there's a balance. Is that considered you collected your ksuba or not? That's what the Mishnah discusses. It's machlokus. Mochro ksuboso. She sold the ksuba o mikzoso, or even part of it. Moshkino ksuboso, she gave her ksuba as collateral. And she took a loan, o mikzoso, part of it. Nos ksuboso la'achir, she gifted it to a third party. O mikzoso, lo simka sashor, el bebezdin. The moment she sells off part of the ksuba, normally we're going according to Reb Shimon, he says the ksuba lo simkar esashor ela bebezdin. Now, if you want to sell the balance, the land that you collect the ksuba from, the court has to make a valuation of that land before you're able to sell off that property. Let's say she sells the ksuba multiple times, and each time she needs property to collect. She could sell multiple times, and she still has a right. A woman could sell the property for her sustenance, not to come to Bezdin. We had an argument previous Mishnah, Reb Shimon the Chachomim. Reb Shimon says when you sell the ksuba, it has to be under the auspices of the court. But Mizonos not. Why? Because a woman has to wait for the court to give you the green light, the release. A woman could starve to death. So for Mizonos, she could do it without the court. Ksuba, you can wait. You're like a regular creditor. You wait. Chum say no. Just as for Mizona, she's able to sell the property without the court supervision, the same thing is true in regard to Ksuba. Okay? Koseves, Mechores Mizashal Bezdin, Koseves Mizonos Mochart. And when she sells the property for Mizonos, she writes the Mizonos Mocharti. She writes in the document that this piece of property was sold for food. Ugrusha lo simkor el Bezdin. But a grusha, a divorcee can only sell it only in Bezdin. So we had it earlier. Either it's because the husband doesn't want his wife to be disgraced, have to come before the court. That's what he says to the kids. If she's a widow, she can sell without supervision of the court. But if she's a grusha, he divorced her, he couldn't care less about her honor, right? There's no relation between the two of them. Therefore, as a result of that, it's only under the supervision of the court. No, different. We have different cases. Different case. The closing case. No, because she's a creditor. She's a creditor. She has a right. He died. Well, he's not here. So let's say he has properties, and let's say he died. Subsequently, he dies. Now he wants to she wants to collect from the estate for her ksuba. Since she was divorced before he died, he says I couldn't care less if you have to disgrace yourself before the court. If you're my widow, that's one thing. You're not my widow. We had no relation when he died. Okay? Let's see. Mastisa money.
Sorry, if she sells off part of the ksuba.
We'll see. The Gemara will discuss it. We'll see. Mastisa money. Who do we attribute the mission to? Reb Shimon, the Tanya. Reb Shimon, we learned in the Brisa. Mochro ksuboso. She sells the ksuba. Moshkino ksuboso. She gave it as collateral. Also ksuboso apotiki. She gave the ksuba that her creditor could collect from the ksuba. La'acher. She doesn't get mizonos any longer. Reb Shimon Omer, she didn't even have to sell off though. She forfeits mizonos. According to Tarakama, when does she forfeit mizonos? That's the Chachamim. If she collected the full ksuba. But if she didn't collect the full ksuba, she still has a right to mizonos. Reb Shimon says no. Even if she sells off part of the ksuba, she loses the right to mizonos. That means partial collection is like you collected the total thing. Even though there's a balance that has to be paid, doesn't make a difference. You've lost the right for support. Okay? Ibdom Mizonos says she's lost the right to Mizonos. She doesn't have the right any longer. Lememra, so what do we deduce from here? The Reb Shimon Sovar, Lomrina mixes kesko kes. We don't say that since there's a partial balance, the partial balance like the full balance. Even though there's a balance left on the ksuba, we don't see that balance as if the ksuba is still intact. The moment she starts collecting the ksuba, since it's only a balance, the balance means nothing. That's called, considered she collected the ksuba. Therefore, she loses her right to Mizonos. Rabbanon Sabri, they hold no. I mean, mixes kesef kachol kesef. Since there's a balance left on the ksuba, she didn't fully collect. She still has a right to Mizonos. She has a right to support. Tomorrow asks the question. No, we find just to the contrary, that we say that partial is not Titania. V'hu b'psula, a Kohen is only permitted to marry a virgin, correct? A Kohen Gadol, high priest. Hu b'psula yikach. Prat lebogeres. Shkolu b'sula divremeir. What about if you have a woman, she's a bogeres, meaning she never had relations, but she's 12 and a half years old. As a woman gets older, what happens to the psulim? They start deteriorating. So she's not in a prime of psulim, because they're partially deteriorated. That's Reb Meir. Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon, Machshirin. They say no, even partial psulim is the equivalent of the whole psulim. So what do you see Reb Shimon holds here? That partial is the whole, right? So we have a contradiction. Before Reb Shimon says if you collect part of the ksuba, even though there's a significant balance left, that's considered the ksuba was collected. And here we're saying, Reb Shimon says that when it says B'suleh Yikoch, even partial, as long as she's still a virgin, even though it's not fully intact, because it deteriorated slightly, that she's considered a full virgin, and she's permitted to a Kohen, Gadol. Marsus Hosam Yikroi Pligi. There it's how to interpret the pasuk. Here we're arguing just the concept. There it's how to Remeir Sava B'sulo, when it says B'sulo. Her would say that even the Bulgarians were permitted to the Kohen Gadol should say a Kohen Gadol should marry a B'sulo. Doesn't say that. It says B'suleho. When it's in her B'sulim, that emphasis is full. She's a full virgin. That means she's still 12 years old. Once she goes to 12 and a half, there's a slight deterioration of that. She's not. Afilu mitzas B'sulim. If it would have said B'sula, B'sula would indicate even a partial virgin. But it says B'suleho. B'suleh means she has to be fully a virgin. B'suleho adika kula b'sulim. Rebbe interprets that you have to have the full b'sulim. What is then it says bivsuleho. Bivsuleho b'chdarka in shlokadarka lo. Means let's say somebody had relations with the woman, did an unnatural act with the woman, but her as a virgin, everything's fully intact. She's still permitted to the Kohen Gadol. Here, that's Reb Meir. Reb Lozer, Reb Shimon Sav, no B'sula Shleima Mashma. B'sula, the connotation B'sula means a full B'sula. So when it says B'suleho, what does B'suleho come to teach me? Afilu mitzvahs B'sula. It doesn't have to be a full virgin, even a partial virgin. B'B'suleho, when it says Bir, that extra bay, she called B'suleho B'kayomin. That means she has to be fully untouched through a sexual act, which means even if she had an unnatural act, even though in terms of the natural, she's fully intact, she's already disqualified from a Kohen Gadol. She cannot marry a Kohen Gadol. Listen to the story here. This woman, she went, normally a woman doesn't collect the ksuba from metaltalin, from movables. She went and she seized property, movables, which is considered okay. If she takes it, it's okay. She could keep it as payment for the ksuba. She went, she seized a silver cup, but the silver cup didn't cover the full value of the ksuba. Covered only partial. Kotova mizoni. So after she took partial payment by seizing the silver cup for the payment for the ksuba, she comes to the bezdin. She says, I want to be supported. Okay? Also lakami de Rava. See, she came before Rava. Omar luhu liyasmi zilu havalo mizonis. He says that you have to pay her, even though we're talking about she already took partial payment. We said before, according to Reb Shimon, if you take partial payment, she forfeits the right to be supported. Correct? But Rava said to the heirs, to the Yisomim, you have to feed her. Samar says, less the choshlo hodu Reb Shimon. So evidently, what does he hold? That we don't take Reb Shimon's position into account. That as long as there's a balance on the ksuba, that we see it as if the ksuba was not collected, and if the ksuba was not collected, the state has to support her. The Omar, we don't take Rav Shimon into consideration who says, we rule that as long as there's a balance, it's as if the full ksuba is intact. Therefore, the estate, the orphans, the heirs have to support her, to get full support. Shalach le Rabba Brei the Rava the Rav Yosef. Rabba, the son of Rava, sent a letter to Rav Yosef. Mocheres shlo bezdin. Tzvicha shua ain't tzvicha shua. When a woman sells property, we said before, a woman could sell property not under the supervision of the court, because he doesn't want his wife to be disgraced. So the question is, after she sells, does she have to take an oath? Because maybe she sold the property for more than she actually had a right to. So does she have to swear that whatever she took, she had the right, she didn't take anything more than what she had a right to? That was the question. V'tiboy lo chachrozo, and also, when you sell a property and you put an ad in the paper, property is ready for sale, you're going to fetch a higher price. So if you're not going to announce it to the public, so what are you going to do? The first buyer comes, look, it's not her money. She has to cover the ksuba, so what does she do? First buyer comes, she sells it. But maybe she's selling it for 20% below market value. Doesn't make a difference. So we say no. We say, does she have to swear ein shricha? And also you have to announce it. You have to announce it to the public. To announce it to the public, that is not even a question. Why? The Amr Abzeir, Amr Nachman, Almano sheshoma la'atzmo, an almana who made the valuation herself. She says, I think it's worth so much, and then she sells it off. Loss of klum. Right? It's not considered value. Her evaluation doesn't mean it. If she put it out to the public, and she saw people came in, they said she saw what it was worth. Because they announced it's for public sale, and people came, and she found out what it was worth. So it says, Amai loss of klum, why is her evaluation out? She had it appraised after it was what? After it was put out for public sale. El lav delo achrizo. So you see clearly she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to announce it. Ul atzmahu delo osa v'lo klum. Hola'ache mash osa osaso. What does this mean? Excuse me. Second. Mi kabbalah mechiro lo mi bezno. Lo yotza karka mishus ha'isom. Aval hecho deshamt lachrini not mishus ha'yosherin nos lo chomim mishus limkor. Right. If she takes it for herself, let's say she's taking the land for herself. We said we don't rely on her because she's taking for it. What about if she's taking the ksuba to sell to a third party? She wants money to be supported. Then we say, we do value it. I mean, for herself, we don't trust her evaluation. But for a third party, I do trust their evaluation. No. It was put out for public sale. And they say to her, who made the evaluation? Yeah? There was this person they left for safekeeping, for watching. It says animal fodder. Ozil Shomer Lenavshek, Barba Meazuzi. He went and made an evaluation. What was it worth? He was the Shomer. He made an evaluation. It's worth $400. Iker, and the price went up. Kom Bishismo, and it was worth $600. Ozil Kame the Ravami Omalei Man Shamloch. He says, who made the evaluation? Hilsa Tzricha Shvuah. Then Tzricha Achrosa. We rule that she doesn't have to swear. If she takes the property to cover her expenses, she doesn't have to swear. Also, you don't have to put it out for public, because if you have to put it up for public sale, you know what's going to happen? She's going to end up starving. What's the reason why we say the court doesn't have to get involved? Because if you have to wait for the court, she has an immediate need to cover her food expense, her residence, and her clothing. They're going to hold her up. So that's why she doesn't. That's the reason why you don't have to put it out for a public offering. Property. No, where would you say? No, that was the story. That wasn't the ksuba. That had to do with the shomer. That was the afkid. There was a man who was given.
Oh, that's his job. I see.
That has nothing to do with the ksuba. Just citing that story over there. We ruled tzricha shvua. She has to swear because we're concerned when she sold it off, she may have sold it off for more than actually she deserved to take. So she has to swear that there was no excess money, and if there's excess money, she has to return it to the Yisomim. Okay, listen to the story. Almona hoysa shoysa ksuba so mosayim. An almona haksuba was 200. Umochro shovim mono b'mosayim. You hear this? She took a $100 piece of property, and she was a first-class businesswoman, and she sold it for 200. So how much did she take out of the estate? She only took 100. Nevertheless, what are you supposed to get from the estate? 200, you got your 200. Even though it wasn't out of their pocket. But since the basis for her receiving the 200 was from the property she sold, she can't take another penny out of the estate. Oh, Shovim Osayim B'mono. Let's say she took $200 property and she sold it for 100. She undersold it. Niskablik Subasa. You took something that's worth $200. That you sold it for less, that's your problem. You caused yourself a loss. Factually, you took from the estate a $200 piece of property. And that was verified. But she said, but I only got 100. It's irrelevant what you got. I bet you, factually, you took from the estate $200. So if she takes only 100, she sells it for 200. What it says it? You received the 200. Even though she did not take the $200 out of the estate. And if she took $200 and she sold for 100, we say, well, it's your loss. You had 200, you undersold it. Listen to this. What happens if it was worth 100? The she took $101 out of the estate and she sold it for 100. This is very important because the Gemara discusses this. She deserved 100, so how much property should she taken out of the estate? $100 and sell it for 100. She took $101 property and she sold it for 100. It's not a valid sale. It's not valid. What do you have a right to sell something worth 101 for 100? Therefore, what is it? Therefore, it's considered mekar. It's considered they canceled the sale because she did something which was illegal. 1 second. She says, I'm willing to compensate you for the extra dollar because she undersold it. I'll give you back the dollar. Doesn't make a difference. The sale is not a valid sale. You never had a right to undersell the value of the property. Mechra botel. It's annulled. The sale is annulled. No. Reb Shimon Omer Ola Mechra Kayum. You hear this? No. The sale is a valid sale. He says the only time we say if she sold more than she was allowed to, that's only if the excess was the equivalent of a field. What does it mean? The property. Bas tisha kabin ubegio bas chatzi kav. Rebbe says if the additional piece of property that she sold, which she never had a right to sell, it would have produced in grain 9 kavim, certain dry measure, and if it was a garden, it was chatzi kav. That means she undersold. But if it's less than producing that, it's considered negligible. She could just reimburse the estate. Reb Kiva Omer Beis Rova. It's a little more. Okay. Hoysuk subosa arba me'ezuz. Let's say she was owed a $400 ksuba. Umocha lezeh b'mona. So now she collected a number of fields to be able to pay to get the ksuba. Listen what happened. So she sold one field at 100. It was worth 100. Ulezeh b'mona. And the second one's also worth 100. So there, right, listen. The last field she sold, she undersold. So we say when she undersold the last one, that cancels all the sales, even though, because this is all goes towards the collection of the ksuba. So the halacha is shalachrim botel. The last field that was sold is not a valid sale because she undersold its true value. But the first 2 fields that she sold off to cover the ksuba, since it was worth what she didn't take more than she sold, therefore it's a valid sale. We look at each sale as a separate sale. You're following? Okay? Somebody asked a question. We had a case. She sells a $100 field for 200, even though she only took $100 out of the estate. What do we say? You collected the 200, because it's what you get. It's not what you took. We say, when she sells a $100 field for 200, you say, you know something? You lost 100. You could have taken 200. You took a $100 field, and you're such a good sales lady, you sold it for 200. So that means you gave up 100. Right? Stop. So b'msayim nami. So when she takes a $200 field and sells it for 100, nami nema ana arvachna. Let's start over again. If she sells a $200 field for 100, what do we say to her? You took $200 from the estate. But she says, but I only got 100. Said, that's your problem. You forfeited its value. You forfeited $100. You brought a loss to yourself. It's your problem. So the Gemara says, but let's use the same measuring rod. If that's the case, Mona ben Masayim, so why would we say when she sells a $100 field for 200, Nami Tema Anar Vachna, she says, look, that was my profit. Just as you say here, you took out of state 200. Even though you sold it for 100, we say you caused your own loss because you could have gotten 200. You undersold it. Therefore, you have no right to take more out of the estate. So when she takes $100 out of the estate, we say, the Mishnah says, we don't give her a penny more. When she sold for 200, she said the same thing. Look, it should be my profit. Because factually, I only took $100 out of the estate. Omer Rav Nachman, Omer Rav Vua, Kan Shana Rebbe, Hakol Balamos. We'll see. What is the case? Very interesting case. Hakol Balamos. The understanding is, if there's a profit, the profit belongs to the one who actually owns the property. That's the understanding. So if you go and sell a property that's worth 100 for 200, the profit goes to the one who you're taking from. We'll see Keditanya. Hosifalo achas yisero. Hakol l'shliach de rebudo. Let's say I give you a certain amount of money to buy me something. And the seller, let's say, buy a pound of apples. And the seller puts in an extra apple. Who gets that extra apple? The agent or the one who sent you to buy the pound of apples for him? So Reb Yehuda says the agent. The agent gets that. Why? Because I'm a shliach to buy a pound of apples. Anything that's excess to what the agency is, that's mine. Okay? Rabbi Yosef Mecholkin. Rabbi Yosef says, no, they split. That they split, the one who sent him, whose money it was, and the agent, they split that additional amount. Okay? So Mar asks a question, how could you say they split? V'atanya, Rabbi Yossi, Akol Balamos? Rabbi Yossi says, no, everything belongs to the one who actually gave him the money. The full. So what is Omar Rambi Barcham Lokash Kam Bedov Shishbo Kitsu Kam Dov Sheinsbo Kitsu? Meaning like this. If it's something which is very specific, here, if it's something that's very specific, I told you to get me a pound of apples. And they added, that's the additional goes, that's where they split. But let's say to buy me a bushel of wheat. A bushel could have a little more, a little less, because that's based on evaluation. And the person gave you more when you bought the bushel. That case, it all belongs to the one who gave you the money. Okay? So he says, go kidnis anibkar b'chonus b'mida molek b'kli pruta imosiv achsi seru cholkin de matona havoy yeshlomed l'shliach nosno yeshlomed valbayis. But something that's, as he says, a talis cholok v'yerakan b'korn b'omid pomim vate limkor b'zol. Let's say a person goes buys a garment. In the olden days, let's say you buy a pound of legumes. It has a specific price. Therefore, any addition, if he gives you more than that, the guy says a pound, he gives you more than a pound. So what does that mean? And it costs 5 cents a pound. So anything addition to that they split. Because we don't know in whose merit did the additional come. The one who gave the money or the shliach. Maybe the shliach has a phenomenal personality, that's what he gave it to. But what about if I go and buy you a garment? You could buy a garment, you're a good negotiator, you get the garment, you get a more expensive garment for less money. You're not such a good negotiator, then you pay full retail. There, that's when it belongs to the balamos. Since it's not fixed, it's not a fixed amount, it's a thing, then it belongs to what? To the one who gave the money. The full amount goes back. That's Rabbi Yossi. Okay, so let's see. Omer Apopo Pilsa, how do we rule? Dovashish Bokitz V'Cholkin, we rule Rabbi Yossi. If it's something which is a fixed amount, they divide the additional. Everything goes to the balabayis. That's okay. That's what Rav Papa says. We just finished saying that shnuya de shanina shnuya. He's only saying that the way we reconcile the two statements of Rabbi Yossi, one situation he says they split, the other one he says it goes fully to the one who gave the money. He's just confirming that that's a valid answer. Okay? Iboilu, a new question. This is a very interesting question. If I say to a person, second. Person says, I want you to sell a kur, a lesech. Yeah, a lesech is dry, is 50% of a kur. So the one who owns the field says, Zovli lischo. Yeah, I want you to sell a lesser measure, the Zovli kura, and he sold double that amount. I'm making you an agent to sell, let's say, 50 pounds of wheat, and you sold 100 pounds of wheat. Do we look at the 100 pounds as one sale, and therefore you didn't follow my instructions, therefore the sale's not valid? Or do we say, no, 100 is 50 plus 50. So 50% of the sale is valid, and the additional 50 is not valid. How do I see it? Iboilu, here. Omale zovin li lischo. Sell on my behalf a lesach, which is a smaller amount. V'ozal v'zovin le kura. And he sold double that amount. My mosev al dvorafu. Is that considered he added? V'lischa miyakoni. But the 50% amount is considered a valid transaction. Because 50% is 50% of the whole. Odim no. Mavra al dvorafu. Yeah? You didn't abide by my instruction. And if you didn't abide by my instruction, then you're not my agent. You're my agent to sell 50%, not the 100%. So when you sold 100%, even though 50% is 50% of the 100, but factually you didn't follow my instruction. Therefore, you're not my agent. Therefore, what you did is nothing. Nothing is valid. So how do we look at it? We're speaking about what is the mindset of the one who appointed him to be the agent. Is it 50 is better than 50% is not a sale because you weren't authorized to do 50%, the additional 50? Or do we say no? You were authorized to do this kind of sale. That kind of sale you were never authorized to do. Therefore, nothing's. It's not a sale whatsoever. Omer Rav Yaakov in Harpakod Mishmei Ravina. So Rav Yaakov, who came from the Harpakod, that area, name Ravina Toshmal. We have a proof from a mission. Now, what's the halacha? Normally, we say Ein Shlich Devar Aveira. If I commission you to do an act which is a sin, you're not agent. What about inadvertently? I consecrated the money. I say, take this money, and I think it's my money. Purchase of me a garment. So, and he buys the garment. So the halacha is, who's moel? Who's the one who's considered benefiting from hegdish? It's not the shlich, the agent who actually spent the money. Since he's representing the other person as his agent, it's as if the action is attributed to one who sent him. So that person has to bring a korban. If you benefit from something that's consecrated inadvertently, you have to bring a korban. You have to pay value plus a fifth. So listen to the story. Omar balabayis l'shluchotein lehen chaticha l'orchin. Here, he says, take a piece of meat and give it to the guests. And mistakenly, he made a mistake. Yeah, the balabayis, that piece of meat that he said give to the orchin was consecrated meat. Yeah, it was consecrated. Vu omer tlushtayim. And the agent says to the guest, take 2 pieces. Now, what was he instructed? He was told by the balabayis, he has a house attendant. He says, when the guests come, serve them 1 piece of meat. Tell them they could take 1 piece. And then when they come, he says, take 2. He was instructed to him to take 2. So in regard how many pieces is he an agent? 1 piece. So 1 piece, the balabayis is moel. The other piece, why did they take it? Because the agent on his own, with his own, that was his own instruction. He's moel. What about if they took an additional piece? Instead of taking 2, they took 3. So they're moel. So you have 3 people. Moel means if you benefit something consecrated, you have to bring a korban, and you have to pay value plus a fifth. Okay? Only in inadvertent. So listen what happened. And they took 3. They took 3 pieces. Kulan molu. All 3 are moel. He says, if you say, when the person says take 2, he's doing what the balabais told him to do, but he's adding. Mishabochi balabais moel. We understand what a balabais is moel. Eli amrit mavrel dvorav have. But if you say, if the agent doesn't follow the instruction of the one who instructed him, the agency is canceled, so then the agent is not considered the agent of the balabayis. Balabayis am I moel, so why is the balabayis, why is it considered moel? Why is it considered like he benefited from hegdish? We're saying the agency is canceled. So what do we see? When I say to give one and you give two, regarding the additional, you're not my agent, but regarding one, which you did follow my instruction, you remain my agent. It's like the half. So he's bringing proof from this. Am I moal? When is the balbai small? That's only if the agent carries out the agency. But if he did not carry out the agency, shliach moal. Listen to this. Listen, some more answers. There's no proof. This he said explicitly. The agent. He says, take one because that's what the host wants you to take. Take one on behalf of the host. See, he's clearly stating what as an agent. Take one on behalf of those because I'm his agent to tell you that. Achas midaiti. And you could take one, I'll cover that one. The second one you take on my behalf. V'shokolinu tlas. So because here he was explicit to say, there he was acting at the agent. See, the other case, when he transacts the deal, I said sell 50%, he sells 100. So he acted within the context of 100 as if he was the agent. Here he said clearly, I'm the agent of the host to take one piece. You can take an additional piece on my behalf. And then he took three. So there's no proof from there. Toshma. Exactly, separately. Toshma. This is what he's bringing the proof from what you just said. A ksuba was worth 100. She was owed 100. She takes a piece of property. She sells it for $101 piece of property for 100. So what did she do? She had no right. See, it say how much of the sale is canceled. The Mishnah says she canceled the whole sale. Why? Let's say the $100 worth of property is valid. Let him return only $1 worth of property, right? The sale is not valid. My love, what are we speaking about? One second. She actually sold, the Gemara says, she sold a $101 piece of property for $101. 1 second. Umay b'mona, mona shalo. Mona shalo. It means for $100 ksuba, she sold property 101 for 101, which she had never had a right to do. Umay afilu meres arzi es adin lo yorshim. Right? Bedinar, mikarkoi, he says, I'll reimburse the estate $1 worth of property. Uktana, we say, bechrabotel. So what do we say? Even though we don't see it, it's two sales, 101. So we see the whole thing is canceled. Omer Rafuna B'Reid Rav Nosen Lo, B'da Ozil. What are we speaking about? We're speaking about she sold a $101 piece of property for $100. So therefore, what did she do? She actually undersold its value. That's the reason why this sales. So it has no relevance to the whole discussion over here. She took a $101 piece of property. She sold it for $100 because she believed that's what it was worth, and she had a right. So therefore, the whole sale is not a valid sale, right? So Mer says, we're on the next page. But the Ozla have a ratio below Israel. We'll see the Sefer. The conclusion of the Mishnah speaks also where she undersold it. The Ktani Sefer, Haisa Ksuba Arba Me'ezuz. Ksuba was worth 400, and she sold off a number of fields. Mocher Lezebemana, she sold off a field for 100. It was worth 100. Lezebemana, second field she sold for 100. It was worth 100. La'achron, the last field, Yofe Mana Vidina B'Mana Shel Achron. Stop. She watched. She took a $101 piece of field and sold for 100. So the last sale was a mistake, right? So we say Shalachra Mechra Botel. The last sale is not a valid sale. V'shel Kulam Mechron Kayam. So what do we see over there? So the Mishnah is already discussing the case of what? Where you undersell its value. It was the last sale was worth 101, right? And she sold it for 100. So eventually, what's the first case speaking about? We won't say that's the first case. So then the Mishnah is redundant. The Mishnah doesn't say the same case twice unless I have something to learn from it. So yeah, exactly. But it can't be, because we're not going to repeat the same case. So Mer says, low. Reisha v'seif b'dos. I'll say, no, it is the same case, but there's an additional chiddush. Meaning like this. The Reisha is speaking about, she takes a $101 piece of property, sells it for 100. It's not a valid sale, because she undersold the value. Next case, the exact same thing, but there were 3 different sales. The first sale was accurate, the second sale was accurate, the third sale was not. We only canceled the last one. But you know what the difference is? Because you would think, maybe I should cancel all of them. Because since the selling of the fields were to pay the ksuba, you know what you may say, just as the first and second sale was valid, maybe the third sale is valid. You could confuse it. You got it. First sale was she was only selling ksuba that she was owed 100. I cancel it. The last case is we're saying the first 2 sales are intact. I'm only canceling the last sale. That's a chiddush. No. It's a different case. It is, but it's not in the same context. First case, speaking about she was owed 100. She sells a $101 piece of property for 100. It's not a valid sale. Because she was only owed 100. The other case, she was owed 400. She sells the first property, which is 100 for 100, which is valid. Second property also. She messes up on the third one. So the third one, it says, is not valid because she undersold is valid. But it says the first 2 are valid. They say, maybe I should cancel them also. Even though they were valid, but since it's all part of the same package, if you say the first 2 are valid, we may validate the third. So as a fence, we should validate all the sales. The chiddush should say, if the conclusion is that even though there's a consideration to make such a fence, we don't. The first 2 sales are valid sales because they were accurate for their value. We only cancel the third, not the first 2. That's what the Sefer, the conclusion is adding to the first case. Okay? Kamashal and time the ozer biyasmi avdidov nechrakayim hamideresh shamit we know. Hoysuk subasa masay mochru shova mona b'masay mo shova this kabluk subos mal the same hosav who this taliko lo mihai beiso legamri. Aval hochan nigzo mona rishon otamona achron. I should make a gzeira, say just as the first sale is valid, I'll say the last sale is valid. And that's the reason to cancel all the sales. Kamashmalon, I don't say that. I say the first 2 sales are valid sales, and I only cancel the third part, so that has to be resold. Okay? You following? Ikadamri, another version of this. If let's say he says, I want you to sell for me a lesser amount. We're going back to original Shaila. I said, I want you to sell for me a half a ton, and he sells a ton of grain. So do we say half of the sale is valid, but the additional is not valid? Or we said the whole sale is not valid? That was the discussion. That was the question. So there's another version of this. There's no question. In that case, 50% is valid. The additional is not valid because there he's adding, because he wasn't an agent to sell more than he was instructed to sell. Okay? What if I tell you to sell me a ton? I want you to sell a ton of grain, and you sell a half a ton. Yeah, if I tell you to sell a half a ton, you sell a ton. We're saying, according to this version, half a ton is a valid sale. Of course, the additional is not valid. You were never authorized to sell more than a half a ton. What about if I tell you to sell a ton, I tell you to do more and you do less? Okay? Listen to the story. Yeah, he says, the tova loch avdiloch. He says, I did you a favor. By selling less rather than selling more, I did you a favor. Why? Let's say I would have sold the ton. And after getting the money for the ton, you didn't really need the extra money. You didn't need it. So that means you're left with cash, and you don't need the cash. So by selling less, you're playing it safe. Remember we had the case before, a person sells something, afterwards it turned out he thought he needed the money for something, and then he didn't have it. Do we undo this? So that's the same thing here. So do we say that the agent says, I did you a favor? By doing less, you have less cash, but you have more of the original asset in place. You have a larger inventory. O dilma omale lo nichale delifshu shtori eloi. He says, if that's the case, by selling more, meaning you have a right to more, I have to have more documents. I have to write another document, another sale document to transact the other half a ton. Like this, one transaction, I sell off the ton. So do we say, was he agreeable because of the rationale of the agent? I may have had cash, which I don't need. That's the reason why it's a valid sale. where he sold less than he was told to sell, or we say it's canceled because it's, like this, I'm going to have an increase in documents. I don't want to have too many documents. I have to write an additional document. How does he explain the original document? I don't want too many documents. Yeah, it's further down. It's about halfway down, a little beyond the halfway mark on the page, 99A. No, right before that, right before the gold dinar, right before the gold dinar, right before that. He instructed him to sell a ton, a core he sold half. And the core, yeah, that's the case. So what does it say? So is valid he sold half rather than the full amount?
So we say that the agent is held a principal.
Right.
By selling only less of the property as if you knew what was good for you.
Because you have less cash.
So if I sold the full core as your question, it turns out that you did not need the money.
Right.
You would not be able to rescind the sale.
Right.
Thus you will have suffered a gratuitous loss of your land.
Right.
Or perhaps the principal can tell the agent, it's not pleasing to me that deeds should proliferate against me. There, I didn't know that. That's it. It is not pleasing that deeds should proliferate against me. There's an explanation.
Yeah, why?
Principal can argue, have you carried out your assignment faithfully, there was only one document sale for the entire court. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But now that you've sold only a lesser of the property, you have to sell the second lesser separately and write no deed. This is detrimental to me because the existence of many such deeds is disgraceful to me because the person continually selling his
So which means it seems to be he's a debtor. He just has to get rid of his properties. That's the reason.
On this side of the question, he is the agent violating the principle.
Right. Good.
The sale of the lesser is null and void.
Right. Good. See, he would prefer that it should be one and have the excess cash than have this word go out that he's selling off his properties. Omer Chanina Misura, he brings proof. Toshma. Noslo dinar zov. Here he gives a person a gold coin. V'amalo havali choluk. Here a person gives his agent a gold coin. He says, buy for me a shirt. Volach vehevilo b'sholosh choluk b'sholosh talis. He took the gold coin. Half of it he bought a shirt, and the other half he bought a talis, an outer garment. So and this money turned out to be, again, inadvertently, it was consecrated. It was a consecrated gold coin. He gave him a consecrated gold coin. He says, take that coin, buy me a shirt. For $6. Yeah, for $6. And he went and took only half of it and bought a shirt, and the other half he bought the talis. It says they're both moel. Why? Because he's an agent for the shirt, and he's not an agent for the talis. Okay? If you say the agent, even when he does less than the owner of the coins told him to do, he's still considered an agent. That's the reason why the balabais is also no, because factually he did not carry out the agency, right? Nevertheless, it says over here the balabais is considered he benefited. He's considered his agent. If we're going to say that he violated the agency agreement because he did not carry out the wishes of the one who told him, he didn't violate it. You know what he did? This agent was such a phenomenal negotiator, he was able to buy a $6 shirt for $3. So it comes out, he didn't violate it. He did exactly. I want a $6 shirt. Did he bring him back a $6 shirt? Yes, but he got it for $3. That's the reason why he's moel. Yeah? The value was $6, but he was able to get it for $3. Somar says, so why is the shlich moel? Right? The shlich is still, if the shlich wasn't canceled out, why is the shlich, why is he in violation? He's representing the what? The one who gave him the money. Somar says, atalis. Because he was never told to buy the talis. The money that he's using is consecrated money. He was never an agent to buy the talis. So he says, he says, okay, good. We understand now why the Balabais is Moel, because he was able to buy from a $6 shirt for $3. So he carried out the agency. I want a $6 shirt. Did he buy me a $6 shirt? The answer is yes. Why is he Moel? Because he used Hegdish money to buy a talis, which he wasn't instructed to buy the talis. It's good. The shirt he want, but the bias is Moel, because that's exactly what I want you to be the agent to buy me a $6 shirt. He did buy me a $6 shirt, right? Let's see. Rabbi Yudome apizeh malabais lo moel. Here, he says that even for the shirt, the balbais is not Moel. Why? He says, I asked you to get me a better quality shirt or a larger size. You bought me half the size. But if you're telling me the way we just finished saying, that he bought him what he wanted, a $6 shirt for $3, so what's Rabbi Yehuda talking about? Rabbi Yehuda says, no, the Baal Bais is not more because he didn't carry out the agency. But he did carry out the agency. Regarding the shirt, he carried it out. My Rabadomim. He says, you didn't do a good deal. Right? You spent $6 on on a small shirt, which I don't need. Sorry. He says, you know what he said to me? He did a big deal. If you get a $6 shirt for $3, you know what you should have gotten for me? A $12 shirt for $6. Yeah. That's why he's not Moel. If you're such a good negotiator, it would have been more profitable for me to get a more expensive shirt. I told you to spend $6 on the shirt. He says, well, I got you a $6 shirt for $3. But if you get a $6 shirt for $3, you could have got me a $12 shirt for $6, and it would have been had a greater value. Therefore, you're not my agent. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Therefore, the Balabais is not Moel. That's a good argument. No. He spent 50% of the money because he says, I got you what you wanted. You wanted a $6 shirt, I got you a $6 shirt. So he says, you know why I wanted a $6 shirt? Because that's what I could afford. But if I could get a $12 shirt for $6, I'd want a $6. I'm agreeable to spend $6. I'll give you an example. The two suits. There's a suit, $2,000 suit on sale for $1,000, and there's another $1,000 suit which is not on sale. It's $1,000. And he goes and buys the $1,000 suit that's not on sale, which is the equivalent quality as the $2,000. So what does he say to him? He says, are you out of your mind? I could only afford $1,000, but if you could have gotten the $2,000 suit for $1,000, of course I would have wanted $2,000 suit. That's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. I was agreeable, the outlay $6 for a shirt, except I could afford more. But if you're able to get a $6 shirt for $3, you should have got me a $12 shirt for $6. Right? This is like the old mindset of the Lower East Side.
He's a good negotiator. He said, I'll give you a $6 shirt for $6.
But but the man says, I never wanted a talus. I never told you I wanted a talus.
No,
he doesn't want the talus.
The shirt is $6.
No, it's not. That's not what it was. He says the shirt for $6 was $3. Then it's not a problem. Then the Balabais is more on everything. Then he won't more on everything. There's no question. Because he said clearly, the shirt is $6, I'm throwing in a bonus. If you buy a shirt for $6, I throw in a what's his name. That's the deal. That's what he says. He says, I got the shirt for $3, but I had the excess of $3, therefore I spent it on the talus. So if he was never instructed, he was never an agent for the talus. Rabbi says it doesn't make a difference. He's not Moel whatsoever. The Balbais is not Moel even on the shirt, even though he got what he wanted. Because he says, if I had $6 to spend on I wanted a shirt. And I wanted a shirt that you get for $6. Not that its value should be $6. Whatever $6 buys, that's what you should have bought for me. So you could have got me a $12 shirt for $6. You didn't get it for me. You're not my agent. Okay? Dekanami, what?
More complicated. It's a very simple case. At least from the English, it's the principal gave his agent a golden dinar and told him, go and bring me a shirt.
For the golden dinar? No, he said for the golden dinar. No, for the value of the golden dinar. That's for the value of the golden dinar. So that we're trying to say what was his mindset?
You're saying specifically tells him that he wants a golden dinar shirt.
Shirt. That's what I want, a golden dinar shirt.
Okay, so I might have simplistically thought he says, here's, I'll give you like extravagant calculated shirts going to cost. Go buy me a shirt. individual is responsible for the shirt that's bought, and the agent thinks he's doing a favor with what leftover money he has, he's buying the silk.
No, he said, I wanted a $6 shirt.
$6
Okay, they can Moder Rabbi Yehuda Bekitnis. He says Rabbi Yehuda concurs. He only argues about a shirt. Let's say he told to buy legumes, beans. Sheshnei Molu. There it says definitely they both them. Or what's the case? Shakidnis besela. Kidnis pruta. You could buy a seller's worth of kidnis, and you could buy a penny's worth of beans. Shmamino hechidami. What do we? If they sell, let's say, legumes based on a valuation, when they sell valuation, it says, give me $10 worth of beans. So, sometimes you spend more, they give you more. You give less, you get less. So then we shouldn't differentiate between the beans and the shirt. Yeah? They sell based on a valuation. Mostly gabe. The more you buy, the more they throw in more into the amount. No, we're speaking of a place. The Amale Kana Kan Bepruta says they sell it in measures. In measures, you get every cup of beans is a penny. I told you to get me a seller's worth of cups of beans. So if that's the case, over there, even Rav Yehuda agrees. So up to a certain point, it's what? You moel. The rest, if he gets more than that, then the agent is moel. Toshma. Hoisik suboso ba'arba me'azuzik. Moch lezebemona. The first field she sold for 100, which was lezebemona. Ula'achrin yofemona bedino. The last field was worth 101, and she sold it for 100. Shalachrin botil. We said the last sale is not valid. Shel kulon mochrin kayim. The first two fields, because they were sold for their value, it's a valid. Kedamar Rav Shish Breder Avidi Biktini Hochanam Biktini. What are we talking? Biktini. Lo hayisod. So yeah, meaning like this. Let's say the fields were adjacent to one another. Yeah. So basically, if they were adjacent to one another, so now what happens? Now, if the first two are valid, really you're selling off all the fields. If they're in different locations, so therefore the last field being canceled has no relevance to the other fields. But let's say there's one expansive field, and I just keep cutting off pieces. So then if the last one, what am I going to be left with? Be left with something which is, the last one's not proper, none of them are proper. Okay, we'll stop here.